Today on Trad Takes, conservatism is dead. I give my eulogy of it, with a little help from Rand Paul. Welcome to episode 14 of Trad Takes, hosted by the Traditionalists. Thank you for joining me yet again. Please like and share, subscribe, and leave a comment. We'll jump right into last week's comments, and my favorite one is from Fran Geckel on the topic of monarchy. Fran says, I cringe to think what it would be like trying to live as a traditional Catholic if this country had been founded as a Catholic monarchy, which would now be a Vatican II religion monarchy. Would our resistance to Vatican II not be considered a crime against the state? Certainly the true faith would not be allowed to flourish here as it has done. God can bring good from evil, even from a government founded on Freemasonic principles. That's a great point, Fran. I had never thought of that myself. It makes a lot of sense. Like, even if we had this perfect Catholic monarchy, say, in the early 1900s, as soon as Vatican II happened, then of course the monarchy would go along with that, and we would be in a much worse state than we are now. Interesting point. And yes, the American government is founded on liberal and Freemasonic principles. But like you point out, we know that to them that love God, all things work together unto good. And with that, I'm checking my optimism at the door. I'm not in a particularly bad mood, but I'm in a disappointed mood, I guess I should say. I was hoping and planning to talk about anything other than tariffs. I think I've beaten them to death already. If you aren't an avid listener, the short version from my perspective, tariffs are a tax. They are a tax that the people of the country that levies the tariffs pays. They are a transfer of wealth from the consumers, the citizens of the country, that they pay via increased prices of imported goods, or even domestic goods that use imported machinery or components, and it transfers that increased price directly to the government. Anything that transfers wealth or anything from the people to the government, in my mind, is bad. Tariffs are antithetical to free trade and open markets. While targeted tariffs can be useful in limited cases for geopolitical intent, the sweeping general tariffs Trump is currently levying are not that. The argument that we need tariffs to make it fair since other countries have tariffs on us, that's a straw man argument and doesn't stand up to any level of scrutiny. With these tariffs, Trump is sabotaging himself, his administration, and the Republican Party. Rather than reducing inflation and lowering costs, the tariffs do precisely the opposite. By their definition, by their function, they do precisely the opposite. And the American people will soon, if they haven't already, turn against him quickly. And they would be right to do so. If you have any quibbles with what I just laid out, feel free to put them in the comments, and I can address in further detail next week. But today, I want to talk about the other side of these tariffs. Not the tariffs themselves, not why I think they're bad or why some think they're good. I'm not talking about the economic side, but the constitutional side. And this is where I'm going to propose that conservatism is dead. This past week, the Senate put forward a resolution to block Trump's Canadian tariffs from going into effect. The reason? Because tariffs, per the Constitution, are to be levied by Congress, not by the President. The founders knew that tariffs are a tax, and that tariffs can destroy both foreign relations and the economy. And that was too much power for one man to have. Additionally, the measure was to terminate the national emergency, the quote-unquote national emergency, that allowed Trump to bypass the Constitution and levy these tariffs in the first place. So this resolution was taken to the Senate floor for a vote. Now take this in isolation. A resolution saying that one man should not have this much power, and that this power needs to come from the Congress, as per the Constitution of the United States. And additionally, that the president can't simply use the term national emergency to be able to do whatever he wants and to bypass the Congress and the Constitution. Would you vote for this resolution if you were a senator? I certainly would. I'd vote for it in a heartbeat. Well, what would your guess be on which side would vote for this? I personally, again in isolation, would say, well, of course, all true conservatives will vote for this. This is the basis of conservatism, separation of powers and returning to the Constitution. My guess would be, well, the Republicans are going to vote for it, and the Democrats, the progressives, are going to vote against it. Well, I would be wrong. This past week, only 4 of the 53 Republican senators voted for this resolution. 49 Republican, quote-unquote, conservative senators voted against it. And here are some of the conservative senators that I once held in high esteem that voted against taking away power from the executive branch and who voted against the Constitution. Tom Cotton of Arkansas, Mike Lee of Utah, Josh Hawley of Missouri, and perhaps most sad to me, one of my favorites, Ted Cruz of Texas. They voted against the Constitution. They voted in favor of allowing the president to bypass both the Constitution and Congress and to abuse the term national emergency in order to grant himself power that he shouldn't have. They can no longer be called conservative. They have betrayed the cause of small government guided by the Constitution. That's why I say conservatism is dead. Keep in mind, this analysis has nothing to do with whether tariffs are good or bad. It has nothing on the merits of the tariffs themselves. This is simply the question of an abuse of power. The president is overreaching the constitutional authority granted to him, and apparently the Republican Congress, because he's on their team, is going to turn a blind eye to it. Now, many of you listening may hear this and be happy. Comments like, good, we need to fight fire with fire. Or, I'm tired of conserving, let's remake. The progressives are bullies, let's just bully harder. Etc., etc. Now, I'm not here to fight with you if that's truly how you feel and that's your opinion of how the right should behave. Then that's fine, you're not a conservative either. And therefore you would be right not to mourn the passing of conservatism. I, however, am a conservative. Yes, I'm a traditionalist, and yes, you might say I have libertarian leanings, at least on the economic side. But at my core, I am politically a conservative. And now we, if I may include those of you who feel the same way, we apparently have no home. The Republican Party is no longer conservative. It's now a protectionist, big government, and increasingly anti-constitutional party that's simply full of Trump sycophants. They have determined that the only way they can remain in power is to back everything up that Trump says or does, good or bad, and their own convictions can be damned. I know Ted Cruz doesn't believe in increasing the power of the executive branch. In his heart of hearts, he knows that these tariffs are a bad idea. But he wants to be loyal. He wants to march in lockstep with Trump. And so he betrays his own conservative convictions. And to me, that's even worse than if he were actually drinking the Kool-Aid. The silver lining, if I can call it that, the result of these tariffs, unless they are quickly and speedily removed, will result in a political bloodbath for the Republicans. If the status quo remains as it stands today, the Democrats are going to retake the House, they're going to take the Senate, and they're going to do that likely with wide margins. In 2028, whoever the Democrats throw as their candidate for the president is going to win. They could throw Kamala in again, and she would win as resoundingly as Trump did in 2024. And maybe that's what it will take for the Republican Party to throw off the ever uglier mantle of Trumpism and return to being actual conservatives. But until that time, conservatism is effectively dead. And I say this as someone who voted for, and who in general supports President Trump. But the honeymoon is over. He's killed it dead. I'll leave you with some quotes from one of the only senators that I still have respect for, and that is Rand Paul of Kentucky. In a 30-minute speech he gave, chiding his fellow Republicans, who he called those who call themselves conservatives, he had some great lines. No taxation without representation. This was the rallying cry. Our founding fathers believed so strongly in this, they embodied it in our Constitution. Our Constitution doesn't allow any one man or woman to raise taxes. Yet today we are here before the Senate because one person in our country wishes to raise taxes. Well, this is contrary to everything our country was founded upon. One person is not allowed to raise taxes. The Constitution forbids it. This isn't about political party. I voted for and supported President Trump. But I don't support the rule of one person. This is a tax, plain and simple, on the American people. But one person can't do that. You can't simply declare an emergency and say, well, the constitutional republic was great, but we got an emergency. To me, it makes no difference whether the president is Republican or Democrat. This is about the distribution of power. This is about the separation of power. Our founding fathers all believed that. They so feared the power of taxation, they gave it specifically to the Congress. I stand to speak against these tariffs. I stand against the idea of skipping democracy, of skipping the constitutional republic, of rejecting our founding principles. Not because I have any animus towards the president. I do this because I love my country. Thank you, Rand Paul. On this, the day conservatism died, it's good to know that not everyone has abandoned their principles. And I think I'll leave it there. God bless you all, and God bless these United States of America.